House Republicans organized another one of these hearings, this time on protecting the Second Amendment. And I want to walk through some notable moments from this recent hearing. I got to tell you, the issue of gun violence, and more specifically, Republicans' opposition to common sense gun control, is increasingly one of the issues that just makes me so viscerally enraged on a daily basis. So I will try to keep that, keep it together. But first, here is Republican Representative Pat Fallon making such a bad point if he's trying to strengthen his stance on gun control.
Alcohol-related deaths in 2020, 13.1 per 100,000. We talking about regulating any more alcohol? We talking about banning it? We're talking about making new rules to make it harder to get alcohol? No. Deaths by car, vehicles, 38,824, 11.2 per 100,000. Anybody want to ban cars? Any talk of that? No.
If you want to talk about comparing the regulation of alcohol and cars to guns and wanting to make the regulation of guns more similar to the others, let's have that conversation. Because number one, you would be saying you think guns should only be something that are accessed in the case of your alcohol comparison at the age of 21. And when we think about the regulations or laws surrounding alcohol when it comes to your usage of that product possibly harming someone else, and us completely banning the usage of alcohol when you're driving because your, again, usage of that product could harm someone else. So we more strictly, in this case, ban a particular activity because of that reality. So when thinking about the way that the usage of the product of a gun can harm other people, you would be saying much more regulation to make sure that people aren't harming others. And then you want to talk about cars and regulation compared to guns? Awesome. Liberals have been saying this for a long time. Why is it that you have to take a test and both written and physically driving a car, get a license? That license can be taken away if you violate certain laws. There are countless regulations on the manufacturing of cars. If you drive at the wrong speed, you can get fined in a car. If you, again, break certain laws, your license can be revoked. You have to renew your license. We know every single person in the United States who has a driver's license, again, through the process of testing for it. If you want to make guns regulated like that, you are as liberal as it gets. Heck yeah, sir. I don't know how he thought that helped him, but okay. The next moment, parents of one of the victims of the Parkland mass shooting were at this hearing and protested. And this same Pat, what did I say his name was? Pat Fallon. That's what it was. Yeah, Pat Fallon ended up getting them taken out of the room.
Every single firearm in Mexico is supposed to be registered. Mexico has 124 million people. What, ma'am? Ma'am?
Okay.
All right.
Officer, she goes. She goes go.
Please remove that woman, please.
Yes, officer, please.
You're removed. You're breaching protocol and disorder in the committee room.
He never took anyone away.
No. Officer, please remove her.
So there's that. And then Jamie Raskin bringing some logic into this conversation. Take a look.
Our colleagues embrace what's called the insurrectionist theory of the Second Amendment. Our colleague, Mr. Gates, says the Second Amendment is, quote, about maintaining within the citizenry the ability to maintain an armed rebellion against the government if that becomes necessary. Our colleague, Chip Roy, says the Second Amendment was designed purposefully to empower the people to resist the force of tyranny used against them. And Congresswoman Boebert says the Second Amendment, quote, has nothing to do with hunting unless you're talking about hunting tyrants, maybe. Well, this theory is completely debunked and destroyed by the text of the Constitution itself and by Supreme Court precedent. And yet their theory of the Second Amendment is killing Americans. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 of the Constitution gives Congress the power to provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union and suppress insurrections and invasions. The Republican Guarantee Clause tells the U.S. Congress to guarantee a Republican form of government to the states and to protect them against domestic violence. There's 6 other provisions in the Constitution, including the Treason Clause, that debunk what they're saying. And we're going to have to get through their false notion of the Second Amendment in order to save human life. Thank you. I yield back.
Absolutely right. So number one, not even being backed by Supreme Court precedent, the Constitution, and also the basic logic of it doesn't make sense to say the reason why we need all this pain and suffering that our current unregulated gun reality causes is because in a situation where the government becomes tyrannical, the citizens have to be able to stand up against the government. Again, I say, setting aside the points Raskin made, which were absolutely accurate, also just think, walk through that. Okay, we don't have access as citizens to military drones, for example, or gosh, I don't know, nuclear weapons, or all of the numerous things that our military has. And so there is absolutely not a chance in the world that you, with your handgun or even an assault weapon, would be able to stand up against the United States government. So now you're saying for the unrealistic and not at all likely to materialize in any hypothetical situation story you tell yourself, where you would not be able to effectively stand up against the government with your weapon that you have access to because of the far more advanced military technology and weaponry that our government has. Because of that hypothetical situation, thousands of children need to die, and thousands of people need to die across America. It's not even something that makes logical sense, and people are dying because of it. And it's driving me crazy. Last moment we'll look at from this hearing. This is Democratic Representative Cori Bush.
In 2020, per capita murder rates were 40% higher in states won by Donald Trump than those won by Joe Biden. 9 of the 10 states with the highest gun mortality rates, including my state of Missouri, are red states. Mr. Wilcox, first of all, thank you for your strong, well-informed advocacy. I want to build on Mr. Nadler's question. Can you explain how the Iron Pipeline and weak Republican laws, gun laws, disproportionately harm Black and brown communities?
Yes, Ranking Member, and thank you for the question. As you stated, what we see pretty clearly from examining gun laws and looking at rates of gun violence is states with stronger gun laws see less gun violence. Why is that? It's because it's too easy for guns to be illegally diverted from legal commerce, responsible law-abiding citizens, into gun trafficking channels.
Right. A point we've gone over so many times. And I told you at the beginning, I just like to keep myself together. That's just how I like to do the show, not lose my mind. But to think how many people aren't alive today, were subjected to violence that ended their life because of the horrendous policy positions of so many of our leaders, specifically within the Republican Party. It's truly sickening. And it's not because the facts aren't clear. The facts are clear. Just as he was outlining there. Compare state to state. States with stricter gun laws see less gun violence as a general rule. States with looser gun laws see more gun violence as a general rule. And the states that do have, and even any state that has stricter gun laws but still is experiencing significant gun violence, you can directly track the weapons that are being used in that violence coming from states with weaker gun laws. That's why nationally we need proper gun regulation. It's not taking away your Second Amendment. It's regulating a very dangerous killing tool as we should. And the fact that so many people stand against that because they either just don't understand whatsoever the facts, just absolutely no understanding. Or in the case of the leaders, the political leaders, they prioritize short-term political benefits over human life. Or some distorted view of what the Second Amendment means, or some completely distorted view of what they could do in a situation where the government becomes tyrannical. So many lives because of those reasons are being lost. And just so much terror, even not someone who ends up dying. Outside of that, you just have people afraid that they could be subjected to gun violence because of its prevalence in our country and its heightened prevalence compared to other countries across the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get the extra bonus show on Saturdays, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. Link in the description.